I get no joy out of playing tank anymore, aside from Emma and maybe Hulk. Barely with Hulk. Sorta kind of with Hulk. Doctor Strange deals no damage, so he's just a glorified Reinhardt, like I predicted. Thor, an already weak tank, was gutted for no reason outside of boredom. Captain America's buffs amounted to essentially nothing after the initial outrage, and the devs didn't like that so they nerfed him. Hulk can get out-healed by most strategists unless he ults and hits gamma bursts consistently. Emma is already 3 feet deep in the ground. Trust me, this won't be her last nerf. And I'm not even gonna bother with the rest because they all bore me beyond belief. Yeah, Wolverine did get nerfed, although I do think the nerfs are a bit much, but Wolverine is just one of many problems with the tanking landscape today, and it has everything to do with the fact that tanks as of now have close to no control when it comes to changing the tide of a match. People will defend their role to the death. Just create space. Don't go up too far. Create space. Protect the back line. Create space. Create space. But a lot of these tips and tricks can be filed down into a single category. Pave the way for your teammates to decide you and your entire squad's fate. And I didn't really have too much of a problem with that sentiment before, because I like the idea of leading the charge. It's a role I've kind of slid into ever since I first started playing role-based multiplayer games. The problem is that due to how weak tanks have gotten over the game's lifespan, it soon became less about team synergy and playmaking, and more about sponging damage and hoping to God that your healers can follow you long enough for your DPS to capitalize. It's also mind-numbing and monotonous. You have all these abilities and all this health at your disposal, but outside of your ultimate and the rare galaxy brain play that wins you the grand total of one whole team fight, you don't create that much of an impact. It also doesn't help that there's no good team-ups either, at least not anymore. Doctor Strange used to have Gamma Maelstrom, Cap used to have the Lightning Shield, Mag his Magic Sword. These weren't exactly game-changing, but they added variation not only to gameplay as a tank, but to team comps as a whole. It was an incentive to play certain, if not any tanks at all. Nowadays, we got Scarlet Witch gets a busted-ass magical bullshit machine gun that melts all in its wake, and Strange gets the health we stole from him after 1.5. The worst part is that there are clear avenues for tanks to have multiple team-ups. One for an ability, and the other for a boost to stats, like Luna and Hela. But we don't even get a compromise. Doctor Strange, Hulk, and Iron Man made sense, because Strange was a man of science until he learned the mystic arts, and Banner and Stark are great friends and revolutionary scientists, so naturally opposites attract. Now it's just Namor for some reason, a person Hulk has exerted no effort to hide his contempt for. Cap and Bucky actually make sense, but Bucky's ability is miles better than Cap's. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card that provides both you and teammates close to you bonus health. A get-out-of-jail-free card that also doesn't force you and the anchor to agree on using it, as opposed to having to position yourself correctly, which most of the time means diving deep into the back line, to take advantage of a weak AoE effect that pretty much never gets used, as you have to look directly at each other to activate it, and Bucky has to be off cooldown. Thor doesn't even give out a team-up anymore, and due to the insta-Q DPS problem, Hela mains never kill consistently enough after your death to warrant teaming up with her, let alone warrant playing Thor at all considering the nerfs. Aside from the Thing and Penny, none of the tanks have team-ups that boost their strength in meaningful ways. They just give DPS mains an extra ability to waste on enemy tanks. Or worse, they give one to Jeff. You useless mutation. All of these factors lead to hollow wins and very disheartening losses, even more so when you're solo tanking, which happens more times than not. You know you did all you could with what you had, but it still wasn't enough. I have no idea what prompted the devs to nerf the tanks so damn potently, but these changes and their consequences showed signs of catching up with the meta back in Season 2, even more so with the addition of Ultron, a flying character, and it all came crashing down the second Wolverine got buffed, and yet another flying character was added to the mix. And what did we get as an answer to the upping of our counters and the toning down of all of our tools for dealing with said counters?
His new ability, Battle Blades, will allow him to jump directly to a selected enemy and use his Storm Haymaker mid-air. We will continue.
You're kidding, right?
Exceptions be damned, taking for the 1,000,000th time has been boiled down into a job. Another tedious task whose reward is heavily reliant on the competence of the people surrounding you, leaving you once again to be a meat puppet with a tickling fetish. So, Daura, you say, given that this is a genuine problem in the first place, what are some ways the devs can work towards alleviating it? That is an excellent question. The obvious answer is to add more tanks. Thanos could be cool. Each of the stones could be an ability or passive, the snap could be his ult, Ms. Marvel could be great too, the first genuine flying semi-squishy tank, imagine that shit. And not that modern garbage. I want classic Ultimate Alliance Carol Danvers. There are also plenty others brought up by the community, but the thing is, they're most likely gonna add a new strategist in conjunction with another DPS next season, so it probably would be better to talk about what they can change about the tanks we have right now, because we're stuck with them until Christmas time at this rate. Starting off, bring back pre-patch Strange, and give him back his Gamma Maelstrom. There's still a spot left besides Namor, and as I mentioned before, Luna and Hela both can get one extra ability and a stat boost. You have no excuse. And no, I don't care that people thought that Strange was overpowered because of all the carrying he could do in a match. It's not like it was a brain-dead, foolproof strat. You had to game like your life depended on it, and the win still wasn't guaranteed. And besides, I don't think it's too much to ask for when you're stuck solo tanking for 3 egomaniacal 4 and 10 insta-Q DPS mains every other match. Bring back pre-patch Thor, keep the new hammer throw, and up the projectile speed on his Awakened Stake primary fire to help with flankers and flyers. Give Cap a way to direct the aimbot of his shield to help with multi-targeting. Bring back his team up with Thor and give him the ability to clamber so that an altitude change doesn't render him completely useless when diving. Plus, it can help him get to flyers. One YouTuber named Captain Coach had a great idea for Hulk.
Here's an idea. How about we have like different versions of heroes? So there'd be like a hero Hulk, the Gamma based one. He has utility, he has stuns. Okay, let's have a World Breaker Hulk or whatever you want to call it, like a Berserker Hulk. Hulk's punches for that Hulk do 10 more damage, and every punch you do on the same person, he has a rage meter on individual single targets. Whoever you're the most angry at, you'll do the most damage to. And then, so it would still promote this playstyle where Hulk is jumping around, just like rampaging on everybody. There's a strategy, it's like, okay, do I want to jump on the Punisher, who I have full rage on, and will do double damage to, or do I want to keep hitting this healer, who I only have like a little bit of rage for my own punches? You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be so fucking cool? And it would give Hulk impactful decisions to make, have him do more damage, feel more like Hulk, and he wouldn't have to be this big meat shield like support. One of the I like about Hulk is the fact that he can do anything, fill any role, and adapt to the situation, but at a certain point, I just want to smash shit.
But instead of giving him a different form with different abilities, just add the rage meter to his kit, and make his drag down more consistent to also help deal with flyers. Another thing that would be helpful is if his ult was immune to stuns and knockback, because all it does is make me a bigger ult battery for everyone to spam CC and burst down. And again, I don't think it's too much to ask for considering that the thing is gifted that quality as a base level passive. Oh, and please revert all of Mag's nerfs. They never made any sense because aside from dagger mains, I've never heard anybody complain about how strong he was. Bring back Emma's pre-patch diamond form and never touch her again. Leave her alone. She's perfect. And finally, delete Penny from the game. Do I think this all will completely fix the problem? Of course not. However, I do think that these changes would make the experience much less mentally taxing. We'd at least have a say in what decides the end of a match. Not to the extent of a DPS main, of course, but enough to be heard. It'd make us feel like our choices matter again because we have choices to begin with, establishing a wave of variety that'll roll with such a slippery slope into both sleep-inducing and utter dominance desperately needs. But at the end of the day, Season 3 has only just begun, and it's all up to how the devs respond to the current meta with Blade's release in 3.5. And it's all up to how the devs respond to the current meta with the next DPS's release in 4.0. And it can't come soon enough. There's a clear reason why I made 2 videos on this topic in the past. Not because the first one was ill-informed or anything, but because balancing isn't easy, nor is there a clear answer to the dilemma it brings. Issues and hiccups come custom with every balance update. That's just life. But the appeal for Marvel Rivals over its competitor was that it was more focused on being fun than being fair. I fear with the way this is going, especially with how minuscule the changes in terms of this season have been compared to what we've just had months ago, it might end up in the exact same place as the IP it's trying to be. We won't know for sure until these changes hit the scene, and the game itself has had at least a year or 2 under its belt, but as someone who's played many a game that either fell by the wayside or became reluctantly played after encountering this beast, I can't say I have the highest of hopes for Marvel's future. All will become clear in due time, but man, it's just not looking good from here. Let me know what you guys think, both about what I've said and the topic in general. Thank you all for watching, and have a spectacular rest of your day.